Welcome to this Linux sessions. Up till now, we have studied about the permissions on a file, on a directory. How can we change the permissions for a user on a file and a particular directory? We have also seen that how a file which is stored in a particular directory is affected by a specific permission on a directory. So let's see more today. In today's video, what we'll be learning is what is a group, how can we create a group, how can we add a user to a group, how can we delete a group, how can we remove a user from a group. So let us share this screen of Ubuntu and let us clear the previous commands. I am logging into the root so that the command runs very clearly. Yes, so we have logged in as a root. The first thing we wish to see that is there any group which has already been created. So to all the groups are stored in a file which is there in a directory by the name of group in etc. So to see the existing groups, we can run the command tail. Tail command will show only some last results. So therefore we are running tail etc group. It will show different groups. So there are already three groups: G1, G10, G11, U1, U2, U3, and other groups are also there. So we'll be these three groups are there by the name of G, and these groups by the name of U1, U2, U3. In the previous lectures, we have created the users U1, U2, U3, which were associated to the group U1, U2, U3. So the U1 is a user which is associated with the group U1. So now let's create another group and see what is the command to create the group. So to create a group, the command which is written is known as add group. Add group or group add. We'll be using the command group add. Group add is the command which we'll be using to add a group. Then we need to name the group. So let's name the group G2. So group add G2. A new group would be named and it would be added into the system by the name G2. Now if I again run this command tail etc, you can see that G2 group would be created. So you can see over here that G2 group has been created and it shows the information group name G2 with an ID 2001, with an ID 2001. Now if I want to add a group and I want to give it a particular ID, so I will use group add minus G, name of the group G3, and ID and ID. So we give the ID before 3000 and then name of the group. So over here we are giving the ID 3000. This will add a group G3 and it will give the ID 3000 to this group. Now if I run again this command tail etc group, you can see it shows G3X 3000. A new group has been added G3 and the ID of the group is 3000. The ID of the group is 3000. So the ID of the group is 3000 and G2 is another group where the ID is 2001 and G3 is a group which is ID is given 3000. So if we wish to give our own ID, we can give it like this. How to give the own ID? Group add minus G ID and name of the group. So this will add a group and give it a particular ID. Otherwise, if I now create another group, say by the name of G5 is not there, G5, it will give the default ID because we have started with the series of five. Sorry, we have started with the series of group add G5. So group add G5. So we have started with the series of 5000. So G5 will be most probably given the ID 5001. So you see G5 is given the ID 5001. So it depends that if we are giving an id, we can give our own id to the group, and otherwise we can skip the id. So this is how we can create a group, and we can see the groups which has been created in the etc file. Now if we wish to remove a group, a very simple command is there, which is known as delete group g2, name of the group, delete group g2. If I'll run this delete group g2, it will removing the group g2. Now you see that g2 has been removed. If I run tail etc group, so it says g2 has been removed. But we have to be very cautious. If a particular directory, if a particular user is being assigned to a group, and then we are trying to delete that group, then it is not possible to delete the group. Now how to add a user and link that user to a particular group? So to add a user and link it to a particular group, the command which is used is add user in group, let's say group g3, and add user in group g3, and let's create a user u4. So let's link g4 with u4, it will become more simultaneous. Add user in group g4, and user is u4. So we are creating a user u4, and it is adding it with group g4. So adding user u4, adding new user u4 with group g4, and it is asking the password for user 4. So we have given the password, and it has been taken. It says, is the information given? Yes. So it says that it has been created. So group 4 has been added to user u4. Now let's see whether it has been created. So let's log in u4. Yes, clear the screen and go to home directory, and over here we list the files. So you can see that group 4 is linked with u4, and u4 belongs to group g4, which we have created just now. So to add a user, a new user to a particular group, the command which is used is add user in group, name of the group, and then name of the user. Exit from this, clear the screen. I'm again repeating, add user in group, name of the group, and then name of the user. This will create a new user and add it to a particular group. Now this u4 belong to this particular group, and the primary group of this u4 is g4, because at the time of creation it has been linked with g4. If now I wish to remove the group g4, it will say that u4 is the primary group of g4. So it will say this thing, u4 still has g4 as their primary group. So u4 is linked with g4, therefore it says that u4 is linked with primary g4. If I check with the tail command, so it says g4 is still there, because we are not able to remove this group, because a primary user, a user is linked with group 4, and this g4 is the primary group for that user. This was one thing. Now we can add existing users to a group. So if we wish to add existing user to a group, it is very easy. We simply write add user. Instead of giving in group, we write the name of the user, and we write the name of the group. So we are adding a user u1 into a group 4. We are adding a user u1 into group 4. So it says adding user u1 to group 4, adding user u1 to group 4, and it is done. So user is u1 is now linked with two groups. One is u1 and other is g4. If I tail the things for the groups, you can see that over here with g4 it also writes colon u1. Why? It says that group 4, g4 is a group with which u1 is also linked. u1 was a user which was linked to user which belonged to group u1. Now u1 user also belonged to group g4. Because it is a double linking, it is shown over here, it is shown over here. But if I log in into some user, say u1 only, and from here I go to home directory and I list the things over here. Over here it shows u1 is linked with u1. Over here it will not show that u1 is grouped with g1, but actually if I tail the command, then over there it shows that u1 is grouped with group g1 also. Okay, so this is how we can add a particular group, we can remove a group, we can add a user to a group, and we can also remove a user from a group. For example, remove u1 from g4, it will remove the user from the group. It says remove not found. Okay, it says remove not found because the actual command is delete user. I was using a wrong command. Delete user u1 from group 4. So it will remove the user u1 from group 4, removing user u1 from group 4. Now if I tail it, you can see that on tailing it from g4, this u1 is no longer exist, but u1 as a user has not been deleted. You can see if I log in over here, I will log in over here because u1 is linked with primary group of u1 is u1. The primary group of u1 is u1. So this is how we can use the groups and the users, and we can change the permissions. Normally, as we were changing for user, we can change the permissions for a group for a particular file by simply writing change mode command, and instead of user we can give the commands for group command. We can give it for group change mode g plus, we can give it for groups. So as we did for change mode for user, similarly we can change for the groups, and we can create different users, and we can put the users into the particular group and play with the files and the directories. So that's all for the users and the groups. Thank you.